What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
Let's go!
Let's go!
Back for another week. Usually we would do a little bit of a recap, but I think that, being later in the week and we're almost at, don't tap over 1.5 territory. We're going to try to get as many props out there. I think with this, get a little bit to the point with the one spots that we like. On top of that, I think, instead of recapping last week, because if you listen to multiple podcasts, you've already heard that shit enough. So we're going to go over a couple of the fights that have been added, some of the cuts that have happened, just really quickly, and then we will jump into UFC London. I see you're already starting with the brewskis after work. How you doing, buddy?
About you, man. It's been a fun ride, They've recently been adding a shit ton of fights. UFC 280 is looking to be probably one of the best cards of the year.
I'm excited.
I literally told my girlfriend, I was like, look, I don't know what's going on this weekend. I'm like, but there's nothing going on. I'm
Put it
like,
on the list.
That's it. Like, I'm 2 months notice. Like, this shit, as long as knowing our luck, we'll have like 10 fights fall off, but that's not.
So what have they added? Why don't you go through it just in case anybody's missed anything? Who have they added to UFC 280?
So right now we got Mateusz Gamrot going up against Bilal. Oh no, sorry, not Bilal Muhammad.
Dariush.
Yeah, Dariush. It's supposed to be Poirier, but that is a grappler's delight. Super excited for this one, man. Especially after the last fight we saw with Armor Petrosian. It was a very close fight, but it is definitely the step up that whichever fighter won that fight deserves. We have Peter Yan going up against Sean O'Malley, which is absolutely stunning. The lines for that are already super wide, but these things go. They release lines. It's going to tighten up very quickly. So if you're on the O'Malley side, I would definitely suggest jumping on that early because right now I think it's a plus 300 at opening.
I don't know, man. I think that he's yeah, sure, you can make him a live dog, but I think he really has a puncher's chance. I think that Jan's style, I don't know if he's going to be able to get inside that shell the way that he wants to with some of his really crazy shit. And he's going to get taken down. He's going to shell him up and he's going to take him down and he's going to smash his soul back to Instagram. That's my thought.
I'm an O'Malley hater. I always have been. I've literally pegged against O'Malley in every single one of his fights. So what I'm advocating for is that people close that line so I don't have to pay minus 400 on Yan.
And then we also have, obviously, the one that's been talked about a little bit, which is Chimaev and Diaz in a case of be careful what you wish for. But I mean, really, a lot of people are like, why are they, they're feeding him to Chimaev. They're feeding him to Chimaev. Okay, but I know that people don't want to feel sympathetic to the promoter, but put yourself in the promoter's shoes. You're paying this guy astronomical amount of money. I don't even know what the particulars are, but we know that he's one of the highest paid UFC fighters. He's not a champion. I don't even know if he's ranked. If he's ranked, I haven't even looked. He's probably ranked very low. So the idea that they're going to not put him in and try to get juice for their squeeze, they can't just put him in the middle of a card, pay him out. And then what if the main event is a shit show? They know he's going to perform, if he steps in there. So they got to feed him to Chimaev. The only risk is, and I mean, obviously, I think Chimaev beats him everywhere. I think Chimaev's going to be way too dominant for his style. But man, that would be a shitty shit in the cornflakes if that were to happen. If Diaz were to kill the Chimaev hype train and then walk away into the sunset, that would be pretty fun. But anyway, anything else that you saw? Any other fights?
No, honestly, to the one you're talking about, though, I know Chael Sonnen and a couple other people brought this up where they talk about Diaz just walking in the cage, just tapping on it and just leaving. That would be hilarious with all the stuff that's going on with the UFC and him and stuff like that. After people paid all this money to show up to this pay-per-view and he's just like, no, but
the only reason it would be funny, but the only reason I don't think that he'll do that is no promoter will touch him if he does that. If he wants to do boxing,
that is fair.
He's going to pull a Tommy Fury, but even worse, no, they won't touch him, man. Because if for some reason negotiations go wrong in a fight or something's, comes up, like look at the Tyson at Roy Jones. There was all these different things that were coming up, like the changes of the rules and all this shit. If that happens, Diaz is just going to do what he did and get in the soapbox and say he's better than God and whoever else and say he wants to fight with, Usman. So.
And last thing on that fight, man, like as much as it sucks, like I really honestly am one of those people who hates on this fight a lot. I don't believe Nate Diaz should have ever fought at 170. I don't think he's got the frame nor the size for it. And two, he's going up against a guy who, in all fairness, has openly admitted the fact that he pretty much balloons up 20 plus pounds ahead of time. Where whenever it comes down to Nate Diaz making 170, he probably walks in at like 175. Like he's far from a big 170er. So I honestly, this is going to be a slaughter. And like for all of us diehards, like you've been watching the sport since you were young, so have I. Like this isn't really the going out party we want for Nate Diaz. So I'm a big hater on this fight, man. I would like to see Nate Diaz fight somebody, not even like a Carlos Condit, like just somebody in that realm of people where we get that going out party that I think we rightfully deserve. This is going to be a fucking slaughter. Like there's going to be nothing competitive.
I think what was said was they were trying to get Connor going, but Connor's timeline's a little bit off.
Yeah.
And I think that obviously would be the perfect cap. If he never stepped back in the cage again, Diaz, win or lose, to close that story would be the best way, I think, to finish his MMA.
Yeah, because this is going to be brutal. Like he's going to get taken down and fucking smashed.
Yeah,
so.
It's not going to be good. His style just plays right into the hands. So, but we will move forward. And one thing I will say, actually, too, just really quickly, I don't know if you're on the Ankalaev or Anthony Smith train. But here's my thing. I'm telling everybody a little bit ahead of time. If you are on the Anthony Smith train, I don't know if the line gets wider. I don't think it will. It could, but I think there's going to be some sharp betting coming in on it. I think that there's too many options there, and if the line gets too wide, Anthony Smith's alive. He's fought everybody, man. Five round main events. How did Ankalaev look in his last main event? So look, I get Ankalaev could come out and it would look like a world beater, take him down, smash him. That could happen. But man, if I'm going to go on a little bit of recency bias mixed with, the pedigree of Smith, he's got a chip on his shoulder. He's pissed off about this, and he openly says the only time he does well is when he really has a chip on his shoulder. So we'll see how that plays out. But if you're on Anthony Smith, I would maybe take a little stab early. So,
and to comment on that before you go from it, just look at those fucking calf kicks against Jimmy Crute. I was talking about this with another one of my buddies there. Like all Anthony Smith has to do is get off early, and Ankalaev is going to have nowhere to go. Because as much as we're big Ankalaev believers and everything like that, we all believe he's going to be the top of the division. He's very low output, and he doesn't get that many takedowns. Like he averages one takedown per fight. Because I've been looking ahead of this fight, being like, why is this line like this? And at one takedown per fight, or against Anthony Smith averages more takedowns per fight, and his striking accuracy, defense, and output is well beyond what Ankalaev gives. So if you're giving plus 300 on a guy that's fought the who's who against Ankalaev, who's looked mediocre against, in all fairness, like you couldn't take out most guys in the division. Smith is going to be hungry. He's going to want to have something to prove in this fight.
Yeah, man. Like he's the floor is lava. That man is going to make sure that he tries to wall walk. He's even admittedly said in some of his fights where he sort of accepted the bottom. He's not about that now. He's seriously like he knows this is pretty much his last role, right? He's at the top. He's got a claim to a lot of things, but he's got to go out and perform. And he doesn't need to get a knockout. If there's a sloppy shot or a shot after he gets hit a little bit, Ankalaev, he's going to snatch that neck. I'm sure he's working submissions off the cage because Ankalaev's going to go for things. I'm sure he's working Kimura locks. I'm sure he's working key locks. I'm sure he's working grabbing up that neck multiple different ways, different grips, because that's what I would fucking do. I don't know much, but I think we've been doing this long enough now and been around the game long enough that would be an awesome game plan to make sure that you have those things covered. Use them defensively to get back to the striking. I think Anthony Smith hits harder. I think he's more aggressive, and he's going to want to finish this. If he has an opportunity, he's taking it. The only thing that scares me is maybe he gets over aggressive on a submission or something, and then he's going to pay for it. But at the odds, I'll take the shot, man. I just think it's ridiculous that he's being disrespected at this line, especially after the Ankalaev and what he did last fight. There's this mythical thing about fighters. He's had some great fights in there, but against who, right? And you go through, he's beat some good people. You just matchups make fights, and I think this is a bad matchup for Ankalaev to do what he needs to do to win dominantly. But we will move into the card, UFC London. We're going to touch at the main event first, and this is a don't touch main event, really, unless you're looking at the under. But if you didn't get on it early, I got it up, I think, minus 180. Yeah, man, I wouldn't really touch it. What is it right now?
A minus 300.
Yeah, man. Like, so for me, it's hard to really find value at this point unless you go into specials or you're going to break down a parlay, right? Have Aspinall at the top of your parlay, have Blaydes as decision. If you can get the multiple decision and KO, I think that's the play. But to actually talk about the fight itself, we know Blaydes is going to, at least he should shoot right? But he seems to want to stand. And he did that last fight. He's like, people don't know, more or less. I'm sort of quoting him a little bit recklessly, but he basically said like he's comfortable to stand up, but he's so much slower. And if he even plays that game, he's gonna get tagged. He's gonna get tagged, and then he's gonna fall, and he's gonna get 17 punches to his face as he's falling against the cage or wherever it is. So he can't play that game. He needs to set up his takedowns. That's it. You know, work Aspinall into a situation where Aspinall's throwing a lot of punches. Bait him into it, throw some leg kicks, play a smart fucking game plan. He does not need to go out there aggressively for a takedown right away. He doesn't need to go out there aggressively for, you know, engaging fully right away. Let Aspinall, you know, you don't want to let him get into his rhythm, mix up the kicks enough. But I think that start with that. We don't know about the gas tank, and we know that this possibly could be a thing, and maybe it fucking isn't. Maybe he's a fucking beast and he's a gem at 5 rounds, but we don't know. So I would imagine that's part of, you know, Curtis Blaydes' game plan. I would say look at maybe odds for takedowns. I don't know what the takedown line is on certain books, but I would say go under. I think that there's going to be Aspinall working some situations where he's working wizards, where he's going to sort of do what was the dog of the week 2 weeks ago that surprised everybody and beat your boy, that ruined everybody.
Ronnie Lawrence.
Ronnie Lawrence, right? So if he's doing, you know, working some wizards, working a little bit of sort of judo stuff to try to keep Blaydes at bay, you might be able to do that too and sort of push him off to the side as he's trying to shoot. But obviously we know what Blaydes is. He is a takedown machine. He just has to do it. And with all the weapons on the one side of Tommy Aspinall, I think he does win this fight. But there is definitely a good hedge there for Blaydes.
Yeah, honestly, man, I'm pretty high on Blaydes in the spot, if I'm being honest. Like, I know a lot of people have been high on Aspinall. If you look at Curtis Blaydes, man, like, this is the first time in history he's been an underdog. And, like, with Tom Aspinall, like, I just don't think he's ready for this high-level competition. A lot of people were tuning his horn a little bit too early. I feel like a lot of people discredit Blaydes because he's boring and he kind of does the same thing over and over again. But getting an arm lock over Volkan doesn't really do much for me. Like, honestly, it was a perfect shoot and he did what he had to do. But Volkov, like, he pretty much deaf gassed to fucking Marcin Tybura, like, so it's not like he's been looking good recently. As for Curtis Blaydes, man, like, the guy's been doing the damn thing for a long time. And I think if he's smart enough, he's going to be able just to wear out the first round or two. We pretty much saw Tom Aspinall get outstruck by Andre Arlovski in that first round before he decided to rush him to the ground and to get the choke there. But I think Curtis Blaydes is just going to be able to hold him up, take him down, wear out his gas tank, and get a 3rd or 4th round TKO.
Okay. All right. So we're on the other side of that. But I mean, I think both of us probably, I mean, you could actually attack this fight separately if you really wanted to and find a hedge out in some way or another. But just be careful with it. I would suggest everybody be careful with it. I mean, I am with you, though. If Blaydes, you know, realizes really what this is. If Aspinall wins, he doesn't necessarily get a shot. But I think if Blaydes wins dominantly over a guy who's coming up in a world beater, he's in there in the line, and whatever the cue is to set up for that shot, because man, he's got to know what the stakes are. This is pretty much another situation we were saying about Anthony Smith. This is sort of Blaydes' last run at this. They're not going to entertain him at the top much longer. And I think that, you know, who the champ is also one of his best avenues right now, depending on how that would line up. I know that he's lost them in the past, but coming off the knee injury, I don't know, man.
Yeah, like, honestly, if you look at those 2 KO or 3 KO losses, but especially the last 2, like, that uppercut from Derek Lewis was literally his head going in to that fist.
Yeah.
It was perfect, right? And if you look at the one that we have in the Shanghai or whatever, it happened in China, the last time he fought Francis Ngannou, it was a relatively early stoppage. It is heavyweights, so I understand the referee jumping in early, but it was the most perfect overhand right that could have been landed. So you really have to hit Curtis Blaydes clean. Like, he's been hit with tons of shots by tons of high-level strikers and not gone down or even been phased. So unless Tom Aspinall comes in and gets him clean.
Say, man, but what if he gets lightning? What if lightning just strikes?
Then the hype's real, man. But
so
if you're giving me plus 120 on a guy that's been proven,
it's a proper value play. It's a very proper value play. So I'm with it. I'm still on the Aspinall side, but I'm sort of sticking away from it.
fight doesn't
just
go.
because of the mentality doesn't work out. Yeah, I mean, I got it early at Partly Peace, so I'm happy with what I got now. That's why I'm probably mostly going to stay off this fight. Next fight on the card, we have Jack Hermanson against Chris Curtis. Similar situation, except Curtis isn't going to be as good as Aspinall would be off of his back and or stopping the takedowns. Although he did stop 20, but this is a different story. This is Jack Hermanson. Jack Hermanson is a guy who is very aggressive with his takedowns, very aggressive with his submissions. Motherfucker didn't look too good against Strickland, who's a teammate of Chris Curtis, who game planned and worked that whole camp with him. So, if Hermanson really wants to maybe hold on to his job, or at least hold on to not dropping pretty drastically in the rankings, he's going to have to come out, close that distance properly, take a couple shots, and take him down. And I think that this is a strong, obviously, it is a strong play. And if you're on the Hermanson side, I'm not against it. But I think that Chris Curtis is going to work the body. I think that Chris Curtis is going to start hitting that meat locker early, the same way I said about his last fight. And you know what he does. It's not a mystery, right? Like he works people's gas tanks, and we already know that Hermanson, doesn't respond well when his meat locker gets hit. He does gas out, and it's happened in past fights. So with Chris Curtis, I think that he's going to, I think the play really is potentially Curtis KO or decision. I think that would be a parlay sort of situation, but that's me. I'm really heavy on Curtis in this scenario. I just think, like I said, and you said it in the past, and you're probably going to say it again. I just think Curtis is going to invest in the body, work it late, and try to put Hermanson out near the end of the second, if not the third. And if he doesn't, he's likely going to win a decision, because if Hermanson even takes him down a little bit, I think Curtis eventually gets back to his feet. Even if Hermanson gets some time, I don't see him touching up Curtis too much. Slick boxing. And providing we don't get stupid ass judges who understand boxing a little bit, I think we'd be all right. So I'm going to go with Chris Curtis on this one. What's the line currently sitting at?
-110 on the book that I have it right now.
All right, we're split up right now. So money came back on Hermanson. So this is a good one, man. I mean, people are saying the short notice for Curtis coming in, and he didn't really take too many shots in his last fight. He just stopped takedowns. So he's not really damaged. On top of that, I know he had an injury. It was his hand, I believe, the fight before.
Yeah.
But I don't think this is really a bad thing for him coming over on short notice. He sort of thrives in that situation. So I just give me Curtis all day long.
Yeah, no, honestly, I'm on the same boat, man. And this is going to be the most non-actual breakdown perspective of this fight that you've ever heard. But whenever I look at certain fighters, man, this is why I went back to the well with Dustin Jacoby last time, where although the line flipped, I'm like, you know what, man, this guy's made me money hand over fist. Every single time I bet this guy comes through. Like, I'm not gonna follow what the public's saying. Same thing with Chris Curtis. And it's the complete opposite of Jack Hermanson. I was a huge Jack Hermanson believer. And I put money on this guy time and time again. And if you look at his record, I'm telling you right now, my ROE with Jack Hermanson is not fucking great. Yeah. So, and with Curtis Blaydes, man.
No, Dustin Jacoby, you're right.
Yeah, like, and this thing, you got to back the guys that are going to fight for your money. And, with Curtis Blaydes, man, like the guys that are crisp striking, we saw it with Jack Hermanson that Jack Hermanson kind of relies on people who have a similar ground game. You look at fighters like David Branch and stuff like that, who kind of want to be in the ground and are more comfortable going down to the ground. Chris Curtis has no business being on the ground. He's never has been on the regional scene and never has been in the UFC. So I think
you got to think about it like this. You're right. The ROE on Chris Curtis is high right now, and you have to sort of go with that. That's another angle of betting, because if you don't, I mean, what's worse? You go Hermanson and Curtis knocks him out, or bodies him and takes him out, or you go Chris Curtis and Curtis loses finally, but you collect enough off of him, right? Like, I take the shot. I'm with you. Every angle points towards Chris Curtis.
And I should say, honestly though, because for people who follow Chris Curtis, he's not a fast starter. I know a lot of people follow the Phil Hawes in the UFC days where he kind of comes out gun swinging. The plus 300 on Chris Curtis by decision is the best way to approach this fight, in my opinion.
I like it.
Jack Hermanson, he's not the type of guy to really get finished. Like, we understand he got finished by Cannonier and stuff like that, but Cannonier has KO style power. Like, we're not talking about Phil Hawes, who gets KO'd every single time his chin gets clipped, right? Chris Curtis is generally a slow starter, works the body, kind of works his way to that victory. And if he gets it, it's late. So round 3 finish, plus 300 decision. If it ends, it's probably going to end late, in my opinion.
That's actually a good stat for us to look at. I mean, just to see strikes landed per minute, say for first round, second round, third round for Curtis over an average of, say, 10 fights, and see what that would be. maybe something we should look at. But yeah, so obviously we're on the Curtis side of things. We roll into the next fight in the card. We have Paddy the Baddie, the guy that we want to fade. We've talked about this many times, and everybody's saying this. You know, we're waiting for the fade spot in Paddy. I think Paddy has this fight pretty handily. I think that there is an opportunity for him to lose, obviously, by submission if he's sloppy. If maybe even he gets tagged being sloppy, and Levitt's going to be aggressive. He knows his opportunity. So say he gets tagged and is a little bit wobbly for a minute, like we've seen him in the past. If Levitt jumps on him, there's an opportunity there. But I just think that Pimblett's just way too strong. I think he'll be able to muscle out of most submissions. I think that on the feet, he will fucking just dice Jordan Levitt up. But I'm not also hating on the dog opportunity with how wide this line's getting. It's sort of the common story with Paddy Pimblett. He's more of a parlay piece if you get him early. But I mean, I'm just going to stay off this one for the most part. I wouldn't hate if somebody just sort of threw a sub at Jordan Levitt. Apparently, and listening to another podcast, he bet on himself. He's a pretty avid bettor, so he bet first round sub plus 600, I believe it is. So for that, I mean, you might want to, if he says first round, maybe take second, right? If you want to take that shot at the sub. But otherwise, Paddy Pimblett rides 19, 3-0 and rolls into his next fight. Not much to say about this one.
Yeah, honestly, so here's the thing with UK cards, they're very cherry picked fights. I don't mean that no disrespect to the UK guys. I said this in the group chat earlier. A lot of the guys that are from the UK is they make you guys get up at 2 a.m. every fucking time and watch this shit and stay up till 7 a.m. and still go about your day. So whenever they bring a card to the UK, they cherry pick the shit out of their fights because they want you to see your guys kick some ass so you keep tuning in. And this is what this is. At the end of the day, Paddy Pimblett is going to have an advantage absolutely everywhere. And as much as I want to fade this guy, this is not the fight to do it in. If you look at Jordan Levitt, his win over Trey Ogun, could barely pronounce this guy's last name. Either way, a split decision. I don't know if he actually won. Matt Sales no longer in the UFC. Claudio Players, I don't believe he's in the UFC, and he lost that fight. Matt Wyman gone, and Luke Flores never made it to the UFC. So he's not beating any UFC caliber fighters. And for him to come in here and say, "Oh, he's going to take him down," Paddy Pimblett is probably more comfortable on the ground than he is. So that being said, Jordan Levitt has never been finished. So I think the over in the decision is probably the better way to approach this because I do think he makes the grappling a little bit competitive through the first two. And I feel like Paddy just kicks the shit out of him in the third and rides to a decision.
And you know, you could even see maybe a 10-8 round that happens because Paddy hits him up and Jordan Levitt's good enough to be able to hold on and fight the subs, the rear naked choke or whatever it might be. And a 10-8 comes from that. So we'll see. Next fight on the card, I think we might be on either side of this one, but we will see. It also depends. I got in a little bit early, but depends on where the line's at. We have Nikita Krylov against Alexander Gustafsson. There's a couple things about this that, you know, people can talk about. It's what Gus is going to come out, and I just want to get that out of the way right away. I'm just going to go with the narrative that Gus is cutting down to weight. Gus, I went on pretty heavily and looked into his Instagram and looked into different things. He looks really solid right now, and has been for a while. He's been training to get back, and I think that I'm just going to go Gustafsson on this because I think that there's MMA math. Gustafsson has beat Blachowicz. Gustafsson has also beat Glover Teixeira, and I know that was a little while ago. We're saying that was the Gus of old. But Gus's striking is fucking stellar. And I think Krylov is a little bit steps behind. And I had said this last week with the Jacoby fight. I think that Krylov's striking is just good enough to hang with Gustafsson to make it a fun fight. And then potentially have Gustafsson even potentially put him away. I'm going to go with Gus on this side. I don't think that the takedowns and submission shots or any of those things are going to be really much of an issue. But I got dog money initially. What are the lines currently sitting at right now?
Sorry, my mic muted there. Right now, you have Nikita Krylov at a minus 205 with their turn on Gustafsson at plus 175.
Yeah, I mean, he's fought the who's who. His strength of schedule is there. I get him being off for a little bit, but I think it's a dog shot. I'm with it. I think he lands pretty solidly. He throws the same kind of uppercuts that I like that Tavares throws, even though I know Tavares obviously didn't finish very well in his last fight. He throws those long uppercuts that he almost uses as a jab, but with power. I just like him in this spot. I think he's going to touch up Krylov and potentially put him away. So I'll go Gustafsson on the side, dog money.
Hey, for sure. But honestly, and once again, like we're gonna be on the same page of this one. I know a lot of people don't watch the video of this. I'm gonna hold this thing up for a sec. This is like you can't even see it with this. I'm holding up Alexander Gustafsson's book. It's one of my favorite reads from an MMA fighter I've ever actually read. His story is fantastic. He's a super genuine and good dude, man, and I'll back this guy 100%. As I said, I'd love to get the book signed one day. He's always been one of my favorite fighters. But and even in the spot, man, I said we saw the Fabricio Verdum fight where he just did. That was up a heavyweight. It just kind of seemed like he needed to get that fight in, and it just didn't seem overly prepared. And even after the fight, man, he seemed super disappointed. But as you said, you follow his Instagram and everything. He's very well disciplined for this fight. And there's something you and I talk about all the time is that you fade poor fight IQ. There is no poor fight IQ than jumping into Paul Craig's guard. We're going to talk about him shortly. But like, how can I bet on a guy at minus 200 who literally put his opponent in his only win condition possible? It's not going to happen. I'll take the dog money any day.
What do we fade here? What do we fade here?
Poor fight IQ.
Yes, sir. Poor fight IQ. And I'm fully with you on this. I just think that even if Krylov came with good fight IQ, I think that even a Gustafsson on the feet that is sort of there, like 70% there, beats Krylov. All he has to do is keep off the ground, keep off the cage, because it'll happen. Krylof's going to shoot. And I mean, if I'm Gus, and once again, he's been away for a while, work on just the guillotine, work on specific things to be able to snatch something up as you're going to the ground if you can't, keep that head down low and suck that leg out. So yeah, I'm with you, Gus. Dog money all day long. And it's just one of those situations that if he comes out and he doesn't look great, then it's the last time, and the dog money makes sense on him. But right now it's not. So I'm going to take that dog money and run with it. Next fight on the card, we have Molly Meatball McCann against Hannah Goldie, two ladies that I backed quite a bit in the past. Molly, who I faded initially and I backed pretty hard in her last fight. But, oh no, wait a minute. Actually, sorry. It was after the last fight that I talked about backing Molly McCann. I actually faded her in that, thinking that she would actually lose by decision. She showed me up, man. She just kept marching forward, landing at will. And although Hannah Goldie, now we'll jump into Hannah Goldie, I mean, she's made me look great and calling her out very early against Emily Whitmire, saying that, we got to fade Whitmire, fade Whitmire. And she gets the sub off, but I just don't see that happening against Molly McCann. I don't know what Hannah Goldie is, if she's like a yellow belt or something along those lines, but with her level of jujitsu, what level does she become when she gets punched in the face by Meatball when she's on the ground? And the one reason why I said I'll back Molly unless the matchup shows me something that's really like a challenge, like pretty much the champ. She said she's been working every camp on getting her fight IQ up, on listening to her coaches and breaking down a proper game plan, and then working on strategies to basically, check herself sort of in that fight to make sure she's running that fight IQ. So I'm with Molly McCann on this one. I think she rides. I think Molly by decision is likely to play. It's women's MMA. You do what you want with it. I'm riding with Molly on this one. But the line obviously is the problem. So Molly by decision is probably juiced up at this point, and we probably just stay away from it. But as far as pick, I'm saying Molly rides.
Yeah, and once again, this, like I said earlier, man, this is one of those cherry pick fucking fights. Hannah Goldie, she has 2 wins by submission. She's 6-2. She's a fair competitor, but she's far from the level that Molly McCann is. You saw Molly McCann going up. Who'd she fight last time they were in the UK? It wasn't Jocelyn. Jocelyn Edwards. It was
no, it wasn't Jocelyn Edwards. I probably should know that I backed her so hard, but
that spinning elbow was one of the craziest things we've ever seen.
Yeah,
it was up against Luana Carolina.
Yeah, that's right. And I was thinking Luana Carolina could keep her at bay, use those kicks to keep her at distance, and Molly was not having any of that. She was timing the kicks and landing, but I will pass it off to you.
And I was on the same page, man. I even live bet Luana Carolina in that fight. I think at plus 300 going in the third. I'm like, she's going to take over. And Molly McCann landed that fucking amazing spinning elbow just to put her lights out. So this is home turf for Molly McCann. She's going to be hyped. The crowd's going to be hyped. I don't really see a path to victory for Hannah Goldie. If she takes it down, Molly McCann's going to back up. If anything, Molly McCann can probably take her down. Mm-hmm. And odds are this is going to take place at a striking affair. And we are going to see Molly McCann just put a beating on her for 3 rounds.
Yeah, and why it's an issue with the line being so wide. I mean, Luana Carolina was actually winning moments in that fight. And if that had gone to decision, depending on how, not necessarily the KO happening, depending on how it played out and bad judges, that could have been different, right? So I know she was at home, so it's likely going to play out that way. That's the angle, but that's why it's so hard to touch this line so wide. Just because if you do get fucked, the value's already gone, and what do you do? Next fight on the card, we have Paul Craig against Volkan Ozdemir. This is sort of another narrative situation. Do you believe that Ozdemir isn't done? Do you believe that Ozdemir is going to be able to stay off the ground and then also run fight IQ enough that if he does catch Paul Craig, that he's not putting himself in bad situations? I don't know. I really don't. And at the same time, Paul Craig, everybody's saying is, the luck is up, the luck is up. I don't really buy into that as much because I know that it's not that the luck is up, it's the volume of the chin getting hit being up. It's not luck because the guy has a granite chin. He knows that, and he's willing to go in battle and do what he does until he gets his moment. And legitimately, he's so good at jiu-jitsu that if he gets even a minuscule little bit of space, he's taking it, and he's going to take whatever he can. So I don't know if it's really luck. I just think that his chin has held up so far. That's not luck. He just still has a chin. When that changes, or if he were to have a bad weight cut, or if there's any exterior factors going into this fight that changes, his biochemistry or whatever it would be going into the fight, and he's not quite where he needs to be, he may get caught early. He may get caught early and put out. So this fight is toxic as hell. I'm not hating you if you go sub Craig. I think Craig probably sub and go round bet to get even more value out of it if you really want to, or even go Craig round 2 and 3. I don't know what that line's sitting at right now if you want to play props, but I'm staying off this fight. Another stay off. Got to be smart.
Yeah, this is definitely one of the fights on the cards on this card side where it's not cherry picked and there's a lot more debatable stuff that's going on. But I think Volkan's aside, man. Like, I think that we've all played the Paul Craig submission a little bit too much. And if you look back at the fights where he's gotten these submissions, and it's people who engage in the ground. It's not like Paul Craig's dragging these fights to the ground and getting in it. You look at if you look at the Nikita Krylov fight, he put himself in that submission. If you look at the Ankalaev fight, Ankalaev went to the ground with him, put himself in that submission. Like, it's not like Paul Craig is dragging these guys to the ground and getting that submission. So in this fight, like, Volkan Ozdemir has an 80% takedown defense. He's fought the likes of people like DC. Like, he's been in there with super high-level wrestlers, and they've kind of struggled to get him to the mat. So I don't think Paul Craig's a spot in this one. I think this is a trap spot. I think this is one of these spots where the gamblers are just going to go back to the well because that's what they've always done. And on a hot take here, if you look at Volkan's interviews and stuff like that going into this, he's very adamant on taking this fight slow. He knows the danger in fighting Paul Craig. And I can see this fight going over, and I can see this fight potentially going to a decision. Like, I can see Volkan just taking his time, using his boxing, avoiding the grappling. We'll see Paul Craig shooting and Volkan running around the cage and just kind of capitalizing on what he's good at doing. I don't think he's going to headhunt in this fight. So I think Volkan's aside. I think the line's fair at -155. And I think people should tread lightly because they're only giving you +250 on Paul Craig by submission.
Pick your dogs wisely. Next fight on the card, we have Ludwig Klein. Actually, sorry, just quickly, I think Paul Craig's sitting at what, +190 right now currently?
One sec. He's sitting at, no, +130.
+130, yeah. So it's not even, there's not anything
There's no
really
value.
there.
There's zero
value. It's a big stay away. Next fight on the card, we have Ludwig Klein against Mason Jones in what potentially could be a really, really high-paced, just high-impact fight. I'm pretty excited for this one. I think that these guys are going to touch each other up a whole bunch. Ludwig Klein obviously wants to come in and run his game plan in striking. And I didn't check actually the stats. It's funny I didn't check on strikes landed per minute. But I think that Mason Jones is just going to be more aggressive with him. I think he's going to be able to land the bigger shots, have the bigger moments. And we know that what he can do on the ground as well too. So I think that being at home, if it goes to decision, I think he's going to be able to do enough with the strikes and some grappling as well too, to really edge this decision. But man, I think the line is really wide right now. What's the line sitting at right now?
2 seconds. The line right now is sitting at, where is it? -345 for Mason Jones.
So once again, another stay off and not even really a parlay piece because Ludwig Klein has all rights to win multiple different ways. As guys step up and challenge in competition, although Mason Jones should win this fight, you just don't know. So when the lines are that wide, what's the point?
Yeah, no, I see where you come from. The line is wide, as are most on this one. I do heavily favor Mason Jones, though. Ludwig Klein, I think he's gonna be live in the first. But the problem with Ludwig Klein is if you watch any of his tape, he does real bad whenever he's getting pressured. He's the type of guy that needs to be on the front foot and needs to be controlling the action. And there is zero chance Mason Jones is going to give him that opportunity, which is why I'm kind of like, it is what it is. Like, I don't really want to pay that. Mason Jones by KO is plus. Well, no, because you get Mason Jones by KO at plus 130. I don't think there's a chance Ludwig Klein goes 3 rounds in this fight. Like, I think Ludwig Klein's either going to clip him coming in, or Mason Jones is just going to put such a heavy pressure on him that he's going to get him out of there. So I think fight doesn't go as a fair bet. And I think the plus 130 on Mason Jones by KO turns a minus 345 into a plus money play. And I think it's pretty much as live as it's going to get.
Okay. I'm with it. All right. Next fight on the card, we have Mark Diakese against Damir Hadzovic. Diakese comes out, shits in my cornflakes. And,
Me too.
All of a sudden becomes a wrestler, but looked good doing it. And I think that's pretty much one of his biggest path to victory here. I think if he can mix up his striking, which is pretty awesome as it is and higher level, if he can actually do that and then try to set this up to get this to the ground, Damir Hadzovic, I think Diakese, I think wins the decision. I think he's going to grind out some top game on the ground, maybe try to go for some subs, but more just based on, him being in the right place at the right time, grabbing up the neck when he can. But I'm big on Diakese in this one. I think that I'm just having a hard time finding how he would finish. I think decision is likely the case, but then to look at decision in something, I'm looking at decision. I think he might even be able to grab a neck, man. So I think Diakese is a spot in this, but what's the line sitting at currently?
Line's currently sitting at a minus 300, minus 360 for Diakese, plus 295 on Damir.
Okay.
Juiced.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But what do you think about this, Diakese?
Yeah, like I'm big on the Mark side for sure. Damir gets taken out by literally everybody, and you would assume that would be the path that Diakese is going to take. Pretty much anybody that fights Damir could watch any sort of tape and be like, "Oh, I got to shoot a takedown, and I'm going to put this guy on his back." The Diakese. So if you have DraftKings, the double chance is Diakese by submission decision minus 105. I think that's a good play. The KO decision is minus 300. I don't think he's going to go for a KO. I'm pretty sure he'll watch tape and understand that if he stays standing, he has a chance of getting clipped. Yep. And his wrestling worked against a guy in the past, and he has been training in. Yeah, like you as I said, the tape's there. Like, why are you gonna? But
yep.
So I like that double chance submission decision minus 105. But
sure. You're sort of with me on the way I was thinking about this fight.
Yeah, like I don't think he's going to keep it standing, and I agree with you. Like I think he's going to go for submission attempts. I think he's going to try and show his well-roundedness, right? Like his last fight, he literally did that because his job was on the line, and I think his coaches are going to turn around and say, "Hey, look, man, like you proved that you're more than just a kickboxer and a Muay Thai style fighter. Like let's go out there, let's show the world that you're a mixed martial artist. Let's go get a submission victory." You know, like I feel like they're going to try and expand this guy past what we've seen so far in the UFC.
All right. Next fight on the card, we have Nathaniel Wood against Charles Rosa. I'm going to be a little quick with this one because I think you can actually attack this one potentially by itself. First, I'd like to ask, what are the lines currently sitting at for this one?
Minus 560 for Nathaniel Wood.
Okay. What is the decision prop?
2 seconds.
Probably juiced. Never mind. I thought the line wasn't that big, that wide. I mean, I think the reason why this line is so wide is Charles Rosa pretty much has an opportunity to grab a neck or an opportunity to grab a sub at a point, but Nathaniel Wood is no slouch on the ground. It's going to have to come with maybe a strike or Nathaniel Wood putting himself in a bad situation through poor fight IQ. I don't see that. I think Nathaniel Wood is going to run, a 3-round striking clinic for the most part, be able to land at bay. He's pretty efficient with the strikes. Like he doesn't just throw recklessly. When he lands, he's placing the shots. So I think Nathaniel Wood's just either going to, coast to a decision all 3 rounds with a little bit of sloppy Charles Rosa. I mean, Charles Rosa's problem with the judges, not only the fact that they're, in the UK, is that he's sloppy. Like when he gets hit, he doesn't sell it very well, and he doesn't look that great when he's getting touched. I think from the top game, Nathaniel Wood's going to be able to land a lot of strikes. So if it goes to decision, Wood's the winner. If he doesn't put Rosa out, because I think Rosa is done at this point. I think that, he has some decent stand-up. For the most part, submissions is only way to victory. And I just think that his level is not there anymore. So I would go Nathaniel Wood. You can try to find a spot, but that line's too juicy, and I'm going to step away from it.
Yeah, honestly, it's one of these fights, man. You kind of have to go with what it is. If you look at Nathaniel Wood, though, he does have a fair bit of finishes prior to coming to UFC. He is a UK fighter. And honestly, I think a hot take is you take Nathaniel Wood by KO or submission. I think he's going to come here and try and prove a point. He's such a big favorite in the spot that people are kind of expecting it. I know Charles Rosa is the type of guy that generally gets beat up before he gives out and generally rides off to a decision.
And what's that line sitting at?
Plus 350, man. Like Nathaniel Wood by KO plus 350, Nathaniel Wood by submission plus 500. Like the props are there to be won, in my opinion.
I like that.
And once again, I just
flip him here. Charles
Rose is taking this fight on short notice. So I don't know, man. I think Nathaniel Wood's gonna want to come out and prove a point to his people and try and make something. And even then, if you go with the KO submission, you're still getting plus 200. You're still getting plus money on it. And if Nathaniel Wood goes to the ground with Charles Rosa, he's literally giving him his own win opportunity, which is something you and I keep talking about. So odds are he keeps this fight standing.
Yep.
I don't think Charles Rosa is going to stand for 3 rounds with Nathaniel Wood just throwing bombs at his fucking head.
He's not going to be comfortable anywhere, man.
And Nathaniel Wood's finished all of his fights outside of the UFC, and he's only had 3 fights outside of the UFC. One of which went to decision, the other 2 he lost. So I think this might be his coming out party, man. You give me that plus 200, I'm gonna fucking take it.
All right. So plus 200 on, and what is that? Submission decision or submission KO.
That's it.
All right.
DraftKings, sponsor us.
Next fight in the card, we have Makwan Amirkhani against Jonathan Pierce. I'm a big Pierce backer. You ride the jock of Amirkhani, and you rode it all the way to a submission victory in your first round, I believe it was, last fight. And I see the angle on this. A lot of sharp people are coming in on Amirkhani because they think that, Pierce is going to gas at some point and get caught, or Amirkhani's going to outclass him and rush him right away and sort of catch him off guard. I don't see it, and I'm going to ride with Pierce on this one. I think that he's going to be able to pace Amirkhani, get him tired, drag him into deep water, and either win a decision or put him out late. I'm on the Pierce side because I can't really go any other way with this. I think Pierce is going to ride in this one. I can't bank on Amirkhani grabbing, a submission early or a KO, because as the later this goes, he's going to either get knocked the fuck out or decision. So I'm with Pierce on this one, but what is the line currently sitting at?
Right now you have Pierce sitting at stupid thing. Right now you have him sitting at minus 190. Amirkhani is plus 160.
Okay. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm gonna back my boy in this one. This type of fight we're gonna have 0 action on, to be honest, though. I'm gonna bet the first round. I shouldn't say I have 0 action. I'm gonna bet the first round submission by Makwan, just because it's plus 900. Can't go wrong with it. I cashed a plus 1100 last time in the Grundy fight. And I'm just gonna go back to the well with this one, primarily because Jonathan Pierce, he's a wrestle heavy kind of guy. He does have a lot of striking, but you look at the Omar fight, one of which you and I went against each other. He would throw bombs, but he would ultimately shoot for the takedown. And even in that fight, he kind of slowed down late. Both these guys have kind of a first round load that they want to burst. And I just think Makwan is going to be able to snatch something up. Jonathan Pierce, you've heard on other podcasts, you're going to hear it on this one. He puts his head in very predictable positions for high-level grapplers to grab. And Makwan is one of these guys that if you give him the slightest bit of opportunity, he's going to grab it and he's not going to let it go. So I'm with Makwan, man. I'm Makwan by submission plus 400 and Makwan first round plus 900.
Yeah, I didn't see that one coming. Next fight on the card, we have Muhammad Makayev against Charles Johnson. I'm going to be very quick, and I want you to as well, because I don't know if there's a reason to entertain this. Muhammad Mokaev is someone I'm big on, someone that has been faded already by multiple people. I think that his grappling is just too aggressive. He's too aggressive with his strikes in his grappling. I think that he really has a shot at just beating the shit out of Charles Johnson and or winning a pretty dominant decision. But that being said, Charles Johnson's striking is fucking solid. And if Mokaev finds himself stuck on the feet and can't really work his kicks, he's going to get boxed the fuck up. That's my opinion, and I'm big on Mokaev. So this is a huge stay off for me because I just don't know if Johnson is also a little bit of an up-and-coming prospect at maybe not the level of Mokaev, but has an angle. And I'm not playing it because I think it's a little bit disrespectful based on it. It's very few times I see someone in tape that I think coming into the UFC, I'm like, oh shit, we didn't even think that about Onama. So Charles Johnson is definitely a live dog, but I'm staying off it altogether. Once again, that's pretty much the name of the fucking podcast at this point.
Yeah, honestly, man, you hit the nail on the head with this one. This is the type of fight that you should fucking tread lightly on. You got like a minus 560 on Mokaev. It is not justified. This, if you watch anything of Charles Johnson, man, just watch his fight with Brandon Royval. It's highly competitive, and he is in it the whole way. There's a reason why when you look at the books, they're setting the decision prop at a plus 150 when the submission and TKO is plus 330 and plus 180. Like they say the exact same thing every capper saying. This fight is closer than what meets the eye. Johnson has experience. He's 10 years older. And Mokaev, he's like 5-1, 4-1, 6-1, whatever it is. He's got very little MMA experience, despite having a big amateur career. And this fight's going to be close. I don't foresee Mokaev just coming in and blasting him like he did Cody Durden. So Mokaev is obviously the side.
Line is off.
The line is so fucking off, man. Like, once again, Mokaev's the side. But tread fucking lightly on this one.
Okay, this one is a fight that I'm going to likely touch on a little bit more than the last two in the Dolby fight and the Bomb fight. I'm going to talk about Jai Hebert against Kyle Nelson. So Jai Hebert is a guy who has some pretty slick striking. He's going to have a little bit of size as well. But in watching even an interview recently with Kyle Nelson, I think it was with James Lynch, he was saying, just because someone's a little bit taller and has range doesn't always mean that's a good thing, right? Especially if it's not, too crazy and they don't utilize it right. Because if you're punching down, it's harder to punch down, right? If you're more at the level or punching up, it's a hell of a lot easier to land on your target. Kyle Nelson's been out of the game for almost 2 years now, and it's not for an injury. It's not for lack of wanting to be in there and fighting. It was really just his contract came up, and the UFC had said, and once again, I'm going to go with, give the reporter for what it's due. I believe it was James Lynch that said he just more or less was waiting for a contract. The UFC said, we're going to wait till we get you a fight. I do have to talk to Crew Alan, and I may even get Kyle Nelson in on something very soon to talk to him as well. So he's been away from the game. He gets tagged in his last fight. He gets a chance to recover. He's been away for a little while, but he's been training like a fucking madman. He has his own gym up north, but he comes down and trains with Crew Alan. He's Mike Lotta as his training partner, and all the boys and ladies down at Niagara Top Team are all one big team, right? So with that, I think Kyle Nelson is a live dog. Like, what's the number sitting at right now?
Minus 265 for Jay Hebert.
Yeah, man. And what's plus?
The plus money right now is sitting at plus 215.
Plus 215. So the line's been moving a little bit towards Kyle Nelson. It was sitting at 225, 230 before, because the guy hits really fucking hard. And also he's going up in weight. So people are like, well, he's going to be undersized. Well, okay, time kicks, land big shots overhands, or straight down the pipe with a two. I think that him going up in weight, and he even said himself, his power is going to translate even more, and it's already there anyways. He has a lesser chance of cardio dump because he's been working on his cardio. On top of that, he's going up in weight, so he's not having to strain out his body anymore. And at the money, I'm just like, man, this guy. I watch his kickboxing. Sometimes he'll I guess maybe get a little bit excited, and obviously that's on a couple fights that you see this where he'll get excited and overextend himself. But he's been out for 2 years. If I'm looking at somebody at his age right now, if he's looking at being a little bit more cerebral about things, I think he can come in here and get the job done. And I think that he's definitely a live dog. I don't see any reason why you wouldn't want to sprinkle Kyle Nelson money line, Kyle Nelson first round. Jay Hebert, let's just talk about his striking. He could go out there and outpoint him for 3 rounds. He could go out there and finish him late. He could go out there and finish him early because he does have some power. And the striking is, I don't know, man. It is a little bit more clean, I would say. That being said, I think that when you're throwing punches, what is it, a glass canoe? missile, a rocket launcher from a glass canoe, or whatever the fuck they say. Man's a fucking glass canoe. His jaw is just there to be had. And I think that if Nelson can time a kick, it's over. For plus 215, sign me up, right? We're over plus 200 and you're going to give me a dog money on someone. I'm in it. I know you might be on the other side of it, but I just think that there's too many things pointing, whether I have my Homer hat on or not, in Nelson as the dog and value there. So I will go with Nelson in this one. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I'm definitely on the other side. It's not that I dislike Nelson. I definitely want to back my Canadian brother here. But in retrospect, I have to go with my fucking.
Well, not retrospect, because your retrospect might be bad, homie. It might be that Nelson.
I just think Jay Huber, man, like, so you look at the Ilya Taporia fight, man, and like his striking, like it was so clean. With Kyle Nelson, like he's gonna get hit, often, and he has been finished. That being said, he's a little bit of a Tasmanian devil in the first round. He definitely comes out throwing bombs. As you said, we haven't seen him since 2019, if I believe. So I'm a little bit cautious to bet heavy on this fight. Obviously the line's a little bit wide. Fight doesn't go the distance is definitely the play. But
you don't have to, right? You don't really have to. With the lines where they are, you throw a little bit of value on it if that's the way you see it. If you look at the percentages and think there's value there, then
well, I think Kyle's live in the first. Like I'll definitely be the first to say that he's going to come out guns blazing, and if he's going to catch that chin, he's going to catch it in the first. I said the 2-year layoff is going to go, or a 3-year layoff is going to go one of two ways, right? It's either going to drastically improve his cardio, or he's going to come out with shittier cardio than he had before. And in retrospect, he watched prior fights, didn't have great cardio, kind of faded off late. So I think the first round KO, it's plus 900 for Kyle Nelson. I don't hate it. Okay. Definitely a good head spot, but I think Jay Huber gets this done in front of the home crowd.
For you running a play, if you wanted to isolate this, I'm going just more dog heavy. But if you were to play this or someone else wants to play it this way, you would go Jay Hebert, decision or KO, and then Kyle Nelson, round 1 and 2.
Or first round 1, 2.
Whatever
well,
play
you want to play 400, it. So
if that's the way you would play it. I'm going a little bit more. I'm not going. You don't have to go heavy, but I'm going more invested in the idea that Kyle Nelson is the play as the dog. So next fight on the card, we have Mandy Bum against Victoria Leonardo. I don't really have a hot take on this, man. We know that Leonardo's going to want to try to take Bum to the mat, and Bum does have power, but really this is low level. This is like Impact MMA Montreal scene level. That's where Mandy Bum was, running around and doing some things back then. So for me, I'm off this fight completely, because she could come out and just dust Leonardo, or Leonardo could just take her out, take her down, and just sort of ride on top for 3 rounds. I don't know, and I don't care to. Staying away from it, staying off it, maybe be a little bit of a hater, but I don't really have a hot take on it, and I don't want to, because I think if anybody thinks they have a hot take on this, you might be a little bit off.
I have a hot take. No, okay. I definitely think Mandy Bum is like literally the worst favorite on this card. That being said, I'm again plus 100 on Victoria. I picked it up at plus 125. Victoria's literally fought like pretty much the top tier of what's in the UFC right now, just a year or two ago. Mandy Bum has beaten literally nobody. I have no idea why she's the favorite in the spot. I think she's going to get taken down. I think she's going to get smashed up. And I think you should grab that plus 100 while you have the chance, because I think Victoria is definitely the side of this one. I think her grappling is far superior, and I think she's just going to smash Mandy in the spot. I have no idea why the line is the way it is.
Okay, yeah, I'm with you. And the reality is, I just think it's a stay away altogether.
The reality is, I placed a lot of money on Misha Tate, and I fucking hate women's.
I don't want to talk about it. I felt like a casual at the end.
But I made money on Invicta last night, so you know what? Maybe it all goes for a full circle.
Well, I mean, it's also, you look at the other way, is it forced you to go better than Invicta, which is so unreliable that you're, don't do that too often. Hopefully you won, but stay away from it now.
I hate betting.
The numbers don't work in your favor if you do that. So next fight on the card, we have, or the last fight on the card, we have Nicholas Dalby against Claudio Silva. This is pretty straightforward, and every breakdown is going to sound the same. Claudio Silva comes in with power, pop in his hands. And I like to say plodding forward and lumbering. These are the words that you hear a lot from people. You can hashtag it, make fun of me for it, because they're my repetitive words I use as a crutch. But this man is literally plodding forward. He's going to rush forward a little bit in the beginning, be a little bit high volume and try to do what he can do. basically uses striking to create scrambles and try to get down to the ground. The man is a submission artist, but he is a lot older. He is fading. I see Dolby likely running a decision on this one. I see Dolby using, the first round, I see him coming out and using some kicks to keep Silva at bay, basically trying to get him to work into his shitty gas tank, right? Get him to get into that 7-minute mark and then start to maybe push it on. Either way, though, both guys are unreliable. Both guys are people I'm not touching. I'm not really in it with these two. And, we know what it is. It's either a KO and submission from Silva or a decision and KO from Dolby. And I'm not touching either. I'm staying away.
I'm like most people in the spot, man. You heard it from every other fucking capper you watched before our show. I think Dolby rides a decision. That being said,
yep.
How the fuck do you bet this fight, man? Dolby is super unreliable. He's had his chin checked in the past. He's been submitted in the past by real shitty competition. And Claudio Silva is fucking terrible. Like, the dude literally looks like a mutant ninja turtle, where the fuck this guys are, man. Like, he comes in, throws the sloppiest striking in the world. Just throws flying hooks from all over the place. Tries to get the fight to the ground by shooting double legs from the other side of the cage. It's honestly like watching Herbert Burns against Bill Algeo. Like, that's kind of what you're going to see. Like, he's going to just shoot a double leg from the other side. Like, it's just, don't bet this fight, man.
I can see Gilbert like, hey, so my brother doesn't really come in anymore, and he's not really fighting at all, but he wants to come in and train a little bit for a little while. Maybe come in once a week, and then he's going to go take a fight at the UFC. What do you think?
Yeah.
And then he's going to rely on a knee injury, which is legitimate, but that's not why he didn't get up initially. It's fucking gassed. I'm sorry. That was brutal. But I think we should stick with the idea that the first fight of the night is not one to gamble with unless you have a hot fucking take, because it's usually lower level. We usually get surprised. If you double down on the fact that it would have been first fight of the night plus it's women's MMA. I mean, we saw this happen multiple times too, where the dog wins. It's just a stay off for me. I think it's a scary spot. Silva likely loses. I don't see him really winning, but I'm going to stay away from this one. So if we look at spots, I think that I'm big on Nelson, but I'm not, I think the line's wide enough and the value's there enough that you don't need to go crazy with it, right? Manage your unit size properly. And I think that if you think that there is value there, I mean, once again, I'm going to say it, glass motherfucking canoe, rocket launcher. And not even a crazy powerful rocket launcher, but just the one that just shoots nonstop. So we have volume of Jay Huber, but he's shooting from a broken fucking jaw. And I think that Nelson's going to touch it. Maybe I'm a little bit over passionate. I have my Homer hat on. So those of you want to follow me, I'm wearing my Homer hat. So I think Nelson wins this one. That's going to be one of my spots. I like your angle on it, though. I think that there's a way to hedge this fight out and really isolate this fight by itself. So the idea of Hubert by decision and KO and Nelson, maybe round props or what you want to do to hedge that, I'm with it. Makwan Amirkhani and Jonathan Pierce. Okay. If Makwan wins, I shave my beard. Can't do it till Monday because things are going on Sunday. So I can't shave my beard till Monday. If Pierce, and I don't even know why you're going to want to do this, but if Makwan wins, Shoey, boy. Shoey, get it going. I want to see a Shoey. I'm sure you'll be into it. So Shoey
or drink a beer, bud.
I shave a little bit every once in a while anyway, so maybe it's not that high of a gamble, and you just like beer and you'll drink it from anything. So I think it's a little soft on the bet, but we'll take it. We haven't really bet anything on fights that way, so I think Pierce is going to fuck him up, and I look forward to watching you struggle through and have beer everywhere as you're sloppily drinking out of your boot.
Nathaniel, don't overcomplicate this card. Like that's here's the thing. There's about 3 or 4 fights on this card that can go either way, and the rest of them are complete setup fights. Like if you put Mason Jones to Casey, Ryan McCann, and Patty Pillman, you're only getting a plus 185. Plus 185. Yeah, plus 185. But fuck it.
Finish it off with the main event. Right?
Yeah.
Finish it off with the main event and then hedge.
That's it. Like
it's not a bad play. I think a lot of people are jumping on that.
If you take this 4-person parlay, man, throw $200 on it or whatever, I'd be damn well surprised if you did not make your money back. Like this is one of these cards where the favorites are set up to win.
It's going to be hard. I mean, I think if they're not going to have a sweep this time, I think Craig's going to be the one that's not the sweep. But definitely, man, I'm with you.
Yeah, just
Casey, I think it's live. I like the angle of the Dia Casey. Actually, let's address the Nathaniel Wood and Charles Rosa. So Nathaniel Wood by, I think KO or submission we were looking at as a prop is definitely a good look. I like it all day long. I'm not touching Charles Rosa because I just don't have faith. Mark Dia Casey against Amir Hadzovic. I like your angle. I like the submission and or decision. I think he either rides some grappling with some striking and or gets opportunistic sub at some point. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah, I love it, brother.
Next, we have Ludwig Klein against Mason Jones. There's not too much value there. I think did you have a play there?
So I think Mason Jones KOs him for sure.
Okay. Paul Craig against Volkan Ozdemir is a straight stay off. I think it's just too toxic a situation.
The way that decision.
Fights, yeah. Oh yeah. You got Volkan Ozdemir by decision. I mean, that is a smart play with the hedge by sub. I mean, it's right there for you. But just tread lightly. Next fight, we got Molly McCann against Hannah Goldie. I think that, like I said, I'm not going to fade Molly. She told me a couple things in her interview. She said a couple things, not me, but told all of us that the fact is that she wants to improve her fight IQ. I love hearing that because she's already a savage. So a savage with fight IQ works for me. She's going to smash Hannah Goldie in that fight. I think you're in agreement on that one. Nikita Krylov against Alexander Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson's going to tag him up, man. I think he's going to be able to stay on the feet as much as he needs to. I'm not a big backer of Krylov. There's MMA math there, even if it was a little while ago. And pedigree doesn't change just because you've been away, but willingness to fight will. So we'll find out where the willingness is with Gustafsson, but I think he's a live dog, and I'm all in on that. Obviously not too heavy, but I think it's the proper dog play of the week.
I 100% agree.
All right, 100% agree. Jack Hermanson against Chris Curtis. We're both heavy on this one. I think Curtis rides in this one. He's going to work to the body, stay off the ground as much as possible. And if it goes to decision, he's just going to outpoint him through strikes. And he's going to land some body shots, land some shots that don't look nice when Hermanson's getting tagged up in the face. Chris Curtis rides in this one. And if you have anything to say on that one?
Curtis all day, baby. ROE.
Okay. Curtis Blaydes against Tom Aspinall. Stay off, but you could potentially isolate this fight by itself and or hedge out with your parlay that you set up for yourself. Blaydes should win by decision and or KO if you want to play that double down. But Aspinall, I think, is going to be too fast. I think he's going to touch him up. I think that Blaydes is going to stand on the feet a little bit too long at points and pay for it. And I don't know if Aspinall's gas is that bad as everybody says. So Tommy Aspinall, I know you're on the other side of it, and I get it because that plus money for a guy who's fought everybody and is a solid wrestler that with hands, I get it.
I'm gonna smash Curtis Blaydes by KO. I feel like this is gonna happen, but you know, to be honest, last week I talked a lot of shit about Dalcha. I'm not saying they're on the same level, but I don't want to eat my words twice, so maybe I won't hammer it too hard.
Yeah, we should have bet on that one. That's why I threw a bet out this week.
You know what, man? He won the first round on all three judges' scorecards.
You were the president of the Dolce Langabula fan club.
He broke his rib. Okay.
You put your balls on the table.
Him.
I'll give it to you. You put your balls on the table. But come on. You're good at reads even better than I am. Probably because you spend more time on tape. But the reality of the fact is, come on.
Yeah, it was a life decision for sure.
It was
fucking bobbing for apples on that fight card.
There we go. That is the name of the podcast. All right. I digress. I think that, we found some good spots. It was fun to watch tape this week with what we could. You didn't really need, a lot of these fighters have fought more recently, so you didn't really need to watch so much tape on some of these fights with the way the lines are set up. Maybe specific fights to see how they handled certain pressure with takedowns or submissions or striking or whatever it might be. But man, I think we got some spots. Don't overextend yourself. That's how you're never going to make anything and just probably break even and or break the bank. I'm Callum McGregor. He's Nick Eagle. Don't tap. I guess we're over 1.5 at this point. But we love to watch tape. We love to get things done. And if you don't like it.
What we've got here is failure to communicate.
Hey, I'm UFC President Dana White, and you're in the ring with Callum McGregor.
Let's go!
Let's go!